Welcome to Cranfield University here in a rather grey UK. Great to have you with us. Thank you for sticking around. And if you're watching the recording, please carry on watching to the end. We want to carry on our conversation. My name's Toby Thompson. I'm the director in the glorious alumni-funded Grenville Turner Studios. Great to have you with us. We're talking about supply chain, shaping futures with Cranfield's supply chain management. So supply chain is something you're interested in, and we're assuming it is. You could be in the wrong webinar. Stick around anyway. Please stay with us. We're going to be together for, I reckon, an hour, no longer than an hour. And that is dependent upon the questions that you have for us in that 1 hour. Joining us in the studio will be the course director for the course, and we have an amazing student, a previous student, so you can ask loads of questions around what's it really like here at Cranfield, accommodation and funding and social life as much as the course as well. We're not going to open audio channels, we're going to just use the text chat. So you know how to use the text chat. Find in Gecko the text chat area, type in your name, and then ask questions, comments, challenges even, observations pretty much at any time that we're together. We know that you have a choice as to where you're going to study. We also know that you've done some homework on what Cranfield University offer, certainly in terms of supply chain. But before we continue, let's remind ourselves what an amazing place Cranfield University is. Transform yourself. Hopefully you're stirred by that video like we were. Thank you again for joining us. This is a chance for you to ask pretty much any question that you want to around this course. Because we're in the presence of greatness, I'm going to say that.
Thank you very
much. We're joined in the studio by Henrik Riefer. Henrik, it's good to have you with us.
Thank you, Toby.
Thank you. I'll shake your hand, but I can't reach you. Henrik is course director, have I got that right?
That is correct.
And senior lecturer?
That is also correct in supply chain management.
Okay.
That applies to both the programs and the my title.
So you know a thing or two about the topics, and you have some specialisms that we can talk about.
I have some specialisms, and we have a lot of other colleagues who specialize in all the different areas, the facets of supply chain management.
Fantastic. Here's your chance to ask pretty much any questions around supply chain, assuming that's your interest. We're also joined by, I said earlier on, an amazing student, AJ. AJ, prove to us that you're there. Are you AI generated or are you real? You are real. I can see you waving there. And where are you calling in from?
Well, as of now, I'm visiting home. So I'm joining you guys right from Nagpur. That is dead on center of India.
I've had a quick geography lesson. It's right bang in the middle. So if you're wondering where AJ is, that's where he is. So AJ, you were on the course last year, is that right?
That's right. Absolutely right. I've
Brilliant.
freshly completed my thesis and I'm ready to step into the world of supply chain.
Very
We want to
nice.
find out where you're headed as well, because that's of interest, I think, pretty much where you go as a result of taking this course. So stick around. We want to find out some more. Thanks for joining us. So type questions into Gecko, put your name there first, and we're going to do our best to answer them. Let's kick off by saying a little bit more about yourself. Tell us, what's your background? How come you ended up sitting on this sofa today?
Okay, where do I start? I mean, it goes back, I guess, my original interests were more in the engineering side. So I studied mechanical engineering, but always with I did a sort of a double major, if you will, also with sort of business studies and operations management. And then over time, I sort of gravitated more and more towards the operation side, sort of away from the engineering bits. Even though, of course, the technical background very much aligns with the area of supply chain management as well. And then, yeah, so I worked in the automotive industry where, again, I think I was more interested in the supply chain side of things, sort of the internal operations as well as the wider sourcing and connections in the supply chain.
So curious as to how that works. It's hugely complex.
Yeah, I mean, it's a miracle in a way. All the products that we're surrounding us with here, like we have this laptop sitting there all innocently.
Yeah.
The amount of components that go into this laptop, just like the main components that you can actually see, but then also all the little materials, all this, coming together in this one product, and we take it for granted. But of course, behind it is a complex supply chain.
And you were drawn to that, the complexity behind it.
Absolutely, yeah.
So your area, was there a specialism in your area? Is it engineering, manufacturing, or is it something
Well,
else?
actually, what I specialize in at the moment, more than the other areas, I still look into, let's say, all the operations management topics. I actually have a book.
You have a book?
A book coming out very,
Whoa.
very soon.
The name of the book, plug the book.
Operations Management for Business Excellence, Building Sustainable Supply Chains.
Look it up on Amazon. You heard it here first. Can people get a signed copy, conceivably?
Of course, if you come here, I will gladly sign it. And there will be a new edition. So that's one of my interests, of course. But then as the name of the book implies, I'm very much into sustainable supply chain management. A lot of my research goes into this. So this includes everything from environmental, but also over the last few years, a lot of social sustainability that I'm very interested in. And then, of course, I have a few other more technical areas within supply chain management. Amongst others, it's warehousing, sort of inventory management, warehousing technology, warehousing processes. And I also teach circularity, circular supply chain management, so which, of course, aligns very well with sustainability as well. So,
Blind, what don't you teach? So you do teach on the course. What does it mean to be a course director? Do you see students coming in? You interview the students? Tell us more about course directing.
yeah, I mean, as a course director, you're responsible for the academic background of the program. So what do we actually deliver? What content? What modules? The structure. Then you have a lot of input into, of course, the student life. So yeah, I talk to people before they even arrive. We do these webinars. We engage with applicants, answer all kinds of questions that they may have about the program. Then, of course, I have to coordinate with all my colleagues, because I'm just a little part of the big...
You're one small cog in a giant machine.
That's right. So the big giant machine of supply chain management department, actually, that we have, our group, which is the Center for Logistics, Procurement and Supply Chain Management. And within that group, we have a whole range of special areas that my colleagues are looking into. And then the goal of it is, of course, that we are covering essentially the supply chain end to end, right? What that means is like literally everything from the very start, from sourcing and procurement, all the way to actually making products, storing inventory, distributing inventory, the whole transport chain of events, and then everything up to the retail side of things, and even after market service and so forth. This is all part of the wider supply chain.
And I know humanitarian aid is in there somewhere as well.
Yes, we do teach humanitarian logistics, or humanitarian supply chain management, and very proud of that, because this is probably one of the very few programs where you do find such a specialization. that we actually offer. And I think when you look at the crises and disaster events around the world, probably more important than ever.
Tell us, I know we've got a graphic on where we stand in rankings and what in terms of how good Cranfield is, but say more about what these numbers on the screen mean right now.
Okay, so first of all, let me say it does say Logistics and Supply Chain Management MSc, but those also apply to the Procurement and Supply Chain Management MSc, because we're talking, of course, about both of those programs. And these numbers, they reflect up to a certain point, I'd say, our standing in the bigger field of education in supply chain management, but only to a certain extent. So here you see, for example, we ranked 3rd in the UK. Do I personally think our program ranks 3rd? Well, maybe it ranks higher.
You think it ranks first, which it did.
Well, I think so, but it's of course an outcome. The rankings are an outcome of a multitude of factors. So it's not just the program content. If I was to judge just the program content, I think we are very diverse and very offer topics that other programs probably do not. You can see we are ranked 1st in the UK for diversity. That's of course a great reflection on our student body, because we have students from all over the world. So from the UK, of course, Europe, but then from essentially any part of the world that you mentioned, all parts of Asia, South America, North America at times, of course, different European countries I mentioned already, Middle East, Africa, such a huge host of great countries there, right? So, and would be difficult to mention all the countries because there's so many. Yeah, so I think apart from Antarctica, we probably have students from any other continent. Yeah.
We can talk to AJ a bit later on about that diversity of class. Tell us who you think is in the audience. Are we talking about the future supply chain managers or maybe even procurement managers across the world? Who do you think is watching, and what are the big issues we're facing today?
Okay, I think who is watching, these individuals are of course interested in supply chain management, and somehow they gained an interest into supply chain management and like all the topics that are connected to it, be it logistics, be it procurement.
Much like you did, you were curious.
Absolutely, and I think it's part of the exposure that you get, be it in an undergraduate degree that you've taken, be it in a job role that you had, you get interested in this field of supply chain management. And that's why I don't think we have individuals from just technical backgrounds or from just commercial business backgrounds. I think there will probably be some people in there with a background maybe in biology or maybe in marketing, right? Sort of related fields, but different. And maybe these individuals got exposed to some supply chain topics and got excited by them, and now feel that an MSc would really benefit them to get like a wider range of topic knowledge.
And we welcome them because they bring new perspectives to the topic.
Absolutely. And what I specifically always welcome, and this is also speaks to the diversity that we see in the classroom, is people from different industries, right? They have different experiences that they can share in the classroom. People from different study backgrounds, especially if they studied something different to me or to the other lecturers, right? They can then also bring that into the classroom and say, like, how would supply chain apply here, right? And of course, people from different cultural contexts, because supply chain management we always talk about global supply chains, but we have sort of the big global supply chains, but then we have supply chains at a smaller scale, industry-specific supply chains, sort of national supply chains. And it's just exciting to learn what decisions, what problems are they facing, what challenges, what solutions are they proposing in different parts of the world.
I want to come up to how you remain relevant, but before we do that, I want to go to AJ. AJ, stand by, I've got a question for you. If you've just joined, please, this is a session around supply chain management. We want your questions, your comments, your challenges, pretty much at any time. In Gecko, type your name into the chat section and pretty much ask questions at pretty much any time, and we'll do our level best to answer those. AJ, tell us more about yourself. What background did you have, and why did you choose this particular course at Cranfield?
So before coming to Cranfield, my background was a mechanical engineer academically, and I had a brief work experience into the manufacturing industry. And much as Hendrik, I was inclined towards the operations part with my work responsibilities and everything else. That is where the element of supply chain was introduced to me, and that is how it piqued my interest. And getting to know the course structure and the diversity in terms of the contents offered is what really reeled me in to locking my decision. That was one part, apart from the plethora of other things that were being offered at the university.
And so you've finished your course, you've finished your exams and your assignments and dissertations, and you're waiting for your results. Is that right?
Right, absolutely.
And you're confident you're going to pass? Are we confident AJ's going to
Absolutely.
pass?
Oh, AJ has been a great student, and you can see like he enjoyed the program, and that is part of it. It's we offer these building blocks, right? And AJ can probably confirm it. Like, but you have to, when you study here, of course, you get the most out of it when you engage
You put a lot in.
with others that are here, right? That includes, of course, the
Right.
faculty. That includes all our sort of administrative teams as well, and that probably mostly includes your fellow students. And that's the fellow students, of course, in your program, first and foremost, but then also you have fellow students in other programs, right? We have the MBA program, we have the other full-time MSc programs, and it's just great to be part of this this range of people, of influences, things you can learn. So it's a very, I'm always jealous when the new cohort arrives, right? We just welcomed our newest
Last few
cohort.
weeks, is it?
Yeah, last few weeks. Of course, AJ is always sad to say goodbye in a way, but it's never a real goodbye. We still have AJ with us
We're
here.
missing you already.
Yes, it is true. Like you,
I
of course.
I
Maybe
I can
it's
add to what I can add to what Hendrik just said. It is Benjamin Franklin's quote that says, "Tell me and I'll forget, teach me and I may remember, but involve me and I'll learn." And I think that practically sums up my experience in terms of the events involved, not just inside the class, but outside as well. And in settings of learning groups or be it individual experiences. And to complete that bit, you not only meet people from different nationalities, you also get to meet and interact with people from different walks of life. So that is where you really get to exchange ideas, insights, and I think that is a different sort of learning that you only get to learn when you choose to engage or be proactive about it. I think that is something paramount that everyone should consider when deciding to come here and study.
I couldn't have put it better. That's a fantastic way of saying, love that Benjamin Franklin quote. Stick around because there's a ton of questions coming your way. I talked earlier on about how you remain relevant, but before we come on to answer that, let's talk a little bit about the structure of the course. We're looking at 1 year.
it's 1 year program. Yeah.
Say more about how that's been structured.
I mean, first of all, it's a 1 year full-time program, and we work towards a rather unique timetable, if you will, because we have core modules, we have elective modules, and we're talking about two different programs, right? We talk about the logistics and supply chain management MSc, and we talk about the procurement and supply chain management MSc, and they're both supply chain management. Now, what we try, or what we not just trying, what we are offering to students is the opportunity to switch between these two programs. Okay, so
you can come in interested in procurement, but you could move to supply chain or
or
vice
to,
versa.
to logistics,
Right.
right, or vice versa.
Right.
You can start on the logistics side and move towards the procurement side.
Okay.
Now, they're both supply chain management MSCs, so they do share the foundational program or the foundational modules, right? So on procurement, on freight transport, on supply chain strategy. They would, of course, be the same. So we cover those foundational modules in term 1, so that runs from roughly end of September, beginning of October until Christmas time and sort of mid-December, right? And then in term 2, there's more differentiation between these two different programs. So then people have to make a choice. Which stream do they want to go with? And they also need to choose their elective modules for term 2, because we have a whole range of electives. People can check them out on our website. Of course, we can ask AJ which electives he has chosen. He will probably remember quite well. So hence term 2 is a differentiation that runs from January until end of March, right? So where basically everybody in the program will probably have a slightly different set of modules.
So they'll have figured out in term 1 what they want to specialize in.
Exactly.
And then applied that in term 2.
Exactly. So what we like to do, for us it would be a lot easier to ask from day 1, which modules do you want to take?
You might not know.
Would be a lot easier to plan.
Yeah.
But people might not know.
No.
So we leave those decisions until later in the year, so that people arrive, they get to do the core modules, and then they make a decision, first of all, which MSc they want to finally stick with, and then which modules do they want to choose. And also that continues into the next term, or terms 3 and 4, which is essentially the thesis project, and AJ just finished his and submitted everything successfully. I was not involved in marking or assessing.
You feel you want to say that.
I'm innocent in any way. I can't comment, and I won't. But of course, the thesis project ultimately is the final 4 months of the MSc program, and this is where students can choose a topic that is close to their interests and explore that really in depth, right? And it's basically a culmination of the whole learning journey.
You're bringing everything together.
You're bringing everything together, and you're really concentrating on something that you are passionate about. So it could be on something on freight transport, it could be something warehousing related, it could be procurement related, it could be something around all the new technologies that we have, artificial intelligence, automation, robotics.
It could be something that you didn't bring to the course in the first place, that you didn't know about when you started.
Absolutely, and we allow a range of topics. A lot of students actually do their thesis project with a company sponsor. So it's a host of companies from the UK, but also from overseas. Some students also, they suggest their own topic.
Wow.
They say, I really want to do something on blockchain technology, and then we customize a topic for them, which may be with a company as well, may not be. I mean, it could be a more theory-driven topic. Some students come and say, I want to be prepared for a doctoral degree, like I'm planning to do doctoral research after this.
Maybe to go and teach this kind of stuff.
Yeah, maybe to go and teach after, maybe become our successors here. And then so we work of course closely with everyone to develop a topic that is suitable, reasonable focus, that can be completed on time. But a lot of flexibility, and I guess the whole idea is with this flexibility, is to really allow individuals to develop themselves in the way they see most fit within the space of supply chain management.
Wow, AJ, there's loads of questions I got for you, but going back to term 1, let's start from the beginning. Can you describe that? What was that like? Was that like head-to-toe lectures every day, weekends included? What's a typical term 1 day like?
I think I would label it as foundational, and it is a standard routine wherein you have your lectures between Monday to Friday, and you can expect assignments, and you can expect the course hours to be like at any moment there wouldn't be more than 3 modules running along, so you can manage your time accordingly. It's not that big of a struggle really. And as you move forward towards term 2 and term 3, that's when the pace and the load genuinely increases. I believe it is designed in a way to push you, but not to overwhelm you. So for me, term 1 was the right foundation so as to make that decision whether I want to align myself towards logistics or procurement. And eventually term 2, where it's peak modules focused by the electives. So apart from the coursework that happens, there's not really anything else that a student should really focus on for the first 6 months, is what I believe personally.
So did you find your interests narrowing or broadening during that first term? And what electives did you choose?
To be honest, I found my interest and journey to be broadening to the extent that even though I chose logistics, uh, out of the four electives that you're supposed to choose, I chose one towards procurement because I wanted to inculcate that element of procurement as well into my own journey or character. And apart from the procurement elective module, that is FDP, I chose warehouse. No, I chose simulation, big data analytics. And other than that, the fourth one was sales and operations planning by Professor Heather Skipworth, because I really liked her way of teaching, and she was the perfect one to instruct that module, I believe.
You said you had a background in engineering. Maybe that was relatively
That's right.
straightforward for you to do. If you didn't, Ajay, if you didn't have a background in that, let's say you were a biologist or you were coming from history or
Right.
non-engineering related, are those difficult modules to do? The simulations, the data analytics? Sounds scary.
I wouldn't say scary, but you have ample amount of time to pace up and catch up with the basics that are expected. Because as Hendrik mentioned, everything, be it a resource or be it the faculty, is out there for you to achieve whatever you want to take or leverage out of it. I wouldn't say it's too difficult also if you time and plan accordingly, which is what is expected at a master's level. If you don't have that sort of time management and a planning in terms of executing what you want, then you're gonna be in deep waters.
That's interesting. You're not helping students with what we've just heard, that planning. You're just assuming they can plan and manage all of
It
that.
is a postgraduate degree,
Yes.
right? So it's not at undergraduate level anymore. So people have to, of course, time manage. It's actually one of the skills that you are also learning here, to be completely honest. But of course, we provide a lot of help. All the resources are there, as AJ has also said. But at times you have to reach out. So if you are struggling with something, well, yeah, there are resources to potentially get you over those struggles, right? But yeah, you may have to reach out yourselves, or then they have to reach out. Plus, of course, I always say the easiest way of actually getting through this master is the time management, but also just prepare for the lectures. If the lecturers, the professors tell you, do this pre-reading,
Do it.
do the pre-reading, read this case study. If they say work through this set of problems, go and do it, because then you understand the next session, right? Then you're not left behind. So it's not, some topics are difficult, no doubt. And it also depends on every individual's background, right? You know, what are you comfortable with? But there's definitely a smooth way of managing it, right? Even though it is a lot of material in 1 year. But I mean, that's a great thing, right? If you have 1 year, it's going to be full. But it's also enjoyable. Let's not forget about it. I mean, hopefully everyone is here to learn about these things because they actually enjoy the topics.
You enjoyed it, AJ. Tell me you enjoyed it.
I mean, I open my LinkedIn these days and I look at the posts from students mentioning about events like the JIT game, the poster session. That immediately takes me back to the time I had. And these are just events that they are starting out. You wouldn't believe that if I start naming out, apart from the JIT game or the poster session, there's the burrito game, followed by, if you're a logistics student, Hendrik himself offers quite a vivid experience in terms of designing a warehouse. That was one of my favorite activity, and I'm not just saying it because Hendrik is here, because he knew how involved we were as the learning team. So every module has a special sort of element where you get to actually practice it out, whatever you have learned in terms of theory. And that is one of the key intended learning outcomes that I've noticed in almost every module, be it procurement or be it logistics.
That's really interesting that you mentioned there that you're working with a bunch of others. And we talked about diversity, AJ, earlier on. Describe, if you
Right.
can, your cohort. Where were they from? How broad? How wide? Say more.
As far as I remember, our cohort was above 120, 130 students. And to describe it in one word, I would say learning group. And what a learning group is, the faculty or the SAS basically divides you in groups, and the groups are designed in such a sense that you get to learn from each other quite well. They are diverse, not just in terms of nationalities, but in terms of different walks of life. That is where the true learning happens. And I'm not saying it's all just it is a lot of exchange, and where there is exchange, there is bound to be tension and everything else. Now, what I really inculcated from this very early on was this is the sort of setting I'll be into after this 1 year. So this is where you get to really practice everything out, not just the theoretical bit or the practical bit, but be it working with people or your soft skills. So you get to really sharpen all your tools, and provided that you're open to learn. So that was my experience with all the people working in not just my learning group, but people in my cohort involving other events where you get to work with larger groups as well.
And I guess also, we won't come onto that just yet, but accommodation. You're living with a bunch of different people as well from across the entire
Right.
university.
Some of my best connections in Cranfield are people that I've lived with. So Uh, as I said, the first 2 terms are foundational and rather much more intense, which is why I believe that if you choose to stay in uh, in campus, you get to really leverage out everything there is for you to use, be it the library, be it the well-being team, be it the other sources or resources like the sports center. But not just that, but you get to really live out with people from other courses as well, not just people from management, but people from technical courses such as motorsports or air transport management. And that is a different sort of experience where you are opened to other psyches or other thinking patterns and everything else. And what I mean by that is, even if you're just probably living with another person, cooking and everything else, that is the experience that you should really open yourself to, is what I believe, and is what has really helped me today.
That's so encouraging to hear, learning from you guys, the faculty, as well as from each other. There's a question here about placements, and I know placements and industry facingness is an important part of that. How do you remain relevant? And say more about the industry side of things.
I mean, I guess Cranfield is well known for being quite industry facing. So what we do throughout the entire program, of course, bring experts in, and AJ can probably relate to some of
Right.
those in the different modules, right? You know, for example, we have always, like, we actually just scheduled this for the current cohort. We're bringing in a vice president from DHL to join us for the freight transport module, right? And so it's a dedicated session, right? Then we have people from all different areas. For example, AJ may also remember the session on it's a former Cranfield. Or it's an alumnus from 1986 who did this MSc, this very MSc, 1986,
Yes.
and he did a session on depot management because he spent his entire career on managing warehouses, managing the inventory, and of course all the people that go along with it. And he had a lot of lessons that that are different to the lessons that you teach from an academic side, right? It's not theory; those are hands-on, practical aspects. Lessons that he learned throughout his 30 years in industry.
What a fantastic opportunity to ask questions of someone who's
Absolutely, yeah.
It.
So we have these speaker events throughout the year, and actually, like, going forward, we are also working a lot closer with all the other MSc programs so that we actually share these speaker events, so that maybe also you're a supply chain student, but you can go to a speaker who talks about marketing or about sustainability or about AI or whatever technology, right? So we're actually widening that scope, which is great. And then it goes on, of course, in terms of
Other
placements or,
than
oh, sorry.
other than the guest speaker events, I would really like to give a shout out to the careers team because they have their dedicated sessions as well. To answer the question about placements, these guys have scheduled sessions for each cohort, right from perfecting a CV to finalizing what a personal interview would be, and even sessions around negotiating or talking it out or soft skills bit. So again, it's not like you prioritize just studies or just sessions from your modules, but you also need to know that this is your time here is limited. You're only here for a year. And although it may seem that the pace is fast, but these are the things that would really matter after going away from here. And I think it was one of the professors that had mentioned it quite well. This fast pace and pressure is what is going to stick with you, not the modules or the learnings that is going to stick with you. So I think in that sense, also Cranfield equips you well to really step out into the world once you have completed your masters here.
Yeah, that whole career aspect we're going to come on to. Just want to answer Reza's question. Reza, thank you for your question. Are placement opportunities guaranteed? Or is it first come, first served?
No, I mean, what we do, like with the placements, I mean, we don't have internships as such. What we do are the company-based projects, the company-sponsored thesis projects. And so every year we have, let's say 40, 50, 60, it depends, that we actually find and advertise to the student cohort. So when the students can then apply, they usually have to do an interview with the respective company who wants to sponsor this particular project. And then, then they go on to be working with the company for 4 months on their thesis project. So it's an academic piece of work, but with a very practical focus. And in many cases, it depends on what the company wants, right? We have everything from, let's say, very practical problems. I have, let's say, the following routes throughout the UK and Europe or in other national settings. I have that many trucks and I'm struggling with the following delays, and let's find out what the bottlenecks are. So really down to earth analysis, of the routes, of the routing options and so forth. It could be something inventory warehousing related. It could be procurement strategy related.
Real issues, real
like
problems.
real
Nothing
issues.
academic about that.
Absolutely, sort of like real company X has the following problem, and let's try and find a solution. We also have projects with, for example, consulting companies, and quite often they're a little bit more interested in a little bit like blue sky thinking, like what are going to be the trends in supply chain management within the next 5 years, where we should dedicate our services to, for example, right? So it's a wide range of these company-based projects. But then I also do want to mention that, of course, we are also open to people bringing in their own projects with the company. And quite often people have, of course, people on the course, individuals have good company contacts, be it a family business, be it maybe a business that they already worked for, or maybe be it a business that they do want to work for, right? So sometimes you can create your own project with the company, and we're also more than happy to work with you to make that a reality.
They know there's an issue, bring that, try and solve it, maybe go back to that company.
Absolutely.
And land a job there. I'm going to ask if I can to answer some of these questions. And I think Reza was the first in there. Reza's talking about something I don't understand. SAP S/4 HANA.
Yes, SAP HANA, yeah.
Okay,
That's
SAP
right.
HANA. Is that taught on this course in a specialized manner?
Absolutely. We actually run it, our good colleague Abhijit, he includes it in his module.
Good.
It's on information systems and sort of technologies in the wider sense. And as part of that, we do cover the SAP HANA. But that's not the only thing. We also, for example, he introduces everyone to a certification from GS1 as well, and various other great options. And the great thing is, and maybe AJ can comment on this. Actually, with the SAP,
Yes.
it's an interesting one because he introduces it, Abby, he introduces it in the module, and so they do some exercises and some work around that, but then it actually remains open for people to access, so you can actually
All right, play.
you can explore it then.
It's a real
Yeah, you can
installation.
explore it on you have a license,
Right.
and we can explore it on that server. So maybe
Tell us
AJ.
more. AJ, tell us more.
So, as Hendrik mentioned, Professor Abhijit covers it in his module of ISB. And I think there are a couple of dedicated sessions for SAP S/4HANA involving the modules of material planning and material management. What the exercise is in a single sentence is you get to organize the components of a bicycle for 3 different models. And that is how Professor Abhijit walks us through the different functions and features of the software. And that is how you are introduced to SAP S/4HANA, regardless of your prerequisite knowledge. And as long as your student status is active, you have the access to the software, and it is all for you to leverage everything that you want from it.
So is that something you're going to do, AJ? You're going to go into industry and do SAP? You're going to be an SAP consultant? Tell us more about your future now. Where are you headed?
My future now is towards procurement or something around supply chain analysis, because I really like data. And as to quote Professor Abhijit again, he believes data is king, and I agree with that. With so many supply chains around, I believe there's a lot of disconnect in terms of what we can leverage out of the data we have. And because being a logistics students, I had, as I said, that my journey not narrowed me down to choices, but rather broadened me. Uh, being Although being a logistics student, I chose my thesis to be towards procurement bit, and that is how I was introduced to the world of AI and how that could affect procurement strategies in the retail industry. So currently, I am giving out interviews and assessments for 2 retail companies, and hopefully, we'll find out which one of those companies I'll land at.
You've got to stay in touch. You've got to tell us where you end up. We're excited for your future. There's a great question from Kindness. Kindness, thank you very much. Kindness is a Nigerian international student, an economics base. Is the part-time program
Economics background.
Yes.
Yes.
Is that something for Kindness to talk about? Can we talk about
The
him?
part-time program.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, yeah, we do have the executive MSc. Is that what you're referring?
Yeah.
Yes. So we do have the executive MSc in logistics and supply chain management as well.
Do you have many economists joining that program?
All backgrounds are ultimately welcome. I mean, economics is great, right? Because you're looking at the world. I admire. I would personally enjoy having a background in economics.
Really?
Because it's essentially the wider economics are quite often shaping what supply chains
Yes, the
ultimately
data
look
that
like.
AJ was just talking
Right,
about.
I mean, look at current events around the world. Let's not name individuals that are making decisions at the moment, but just look at the news over the last few days. All the disagreements on wider economic questions that ultimately shape the nature of supply chains, right? So having a background in economics, I would see it as a great benefit.
So Kindness, we want to see you, please.
And maybe teach us something about
Yeah,
economics.
you can teach us if we want to hear you. I guess that point, if you've heard it here, any background. To that point, and there's an anonymous question here, do you ever see students transitioning in from sales-based roles? And what do you think the strength tends to be when applied to supply chain from a sales-based role?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, we do have, AJ mentioned it, we do have an elective module on sales and operations planning, which is probably one of our most popular elective modules, actually. And yeah, so if sales ultimately is a supply chain or supply chain management is a wide area, right? And sales and operations planning, of course, is part of the overall supply chain management theme, if you will, right? So I think it's not so much a question what your background is, whether it's sales or economics. It's more the interest in, like, are you excited in supply chain management, in learning more about supply chain management and why? And being open-minded, as AJ also said, like, you know, to learn about these other topics. Like, yeah, if you have a specialization already, fantastic, but maybe you will branch out. Or maybe you will go even more in depth into your sales background, but now you understand what your decisions mean to all those other individuals, companies, and players in the supply chain and your internal operations.
Because you remained open-minded, like Ajay was talking
Yeah,
about.
a
You would agree.
living and breathing example of this question would be the fresh connection. And it is a very popular game for different sort of reasons in the cohort. So basically what the fresh connection is, imagine you are a team of 4 and each person gets to be the CEO of one single function. So function 1 being sales, second being operations, third being supply chain, and fourth being delivery or logistics. So whoever this person is gets to bring in that sort of expertise or insight from the sales dimension, and you get to really play this out in your team so that your team wins amongst the plethora of teams that have been decided. So as Hendrik mentioned, that it's not about just your background, but it's about what you bring along with your background towards the world of supply chain. Like, you get to really join that expertise with that curiosity towards supply chain.
You get out of it sounds like a cliche, but you get out of it what you put in, I guess. Just a clarification from Kindness. Thank you, Kindness. Is there a part-time option for international students? You're going to say yes.
Of course, yeah. We have the executive MSc. You can check it out on the website. And yes, that is open, of course, to national and international students.
You heard it here first. So yes, please get in touch. AJ, can I bring it round to accommodation, some practical stuff like that? We've talked about the course, but let's talk more about accommodation. How did you go about arranging your accommodation, and tell us more about what you chose and why you chose it?
I think the process of choosing an accommodation is quite simple to follow through, because you have got the accommodations team helping you out through and through. Uh, as far as I believe, the case that is still today, you have to really put out 4 options among all the available accommodation halls, and based on your choices and the availability as first come first basis, you are assigned one of them, and that is pretty much it. Once you pay your deposit, all you have to do is sign the contract or the tenure for a year, and that's it. That's it on the formalities end. I personally was a resident of the Baroness Young Hall, and as I said, for my first 6 months, my focus was on being conveniently attentive about all my modules, which is why I chose to stay on campus. There's I don't think so there's a better option that any student could go for than any of the accommodation halls available for the first few terms.
And then you changed.
Yes, right. I changed because, as Hendrik mentioned, as per our structure, uh, towards the last bit of the course, when you're done with your study tours and everything else, there's there is no academic commitment albeit your thesis deadline, which does not really require. I felt that it did not really require for me to be on campus, because I had leveraged everything that I could out of the library in terms of what I needed for my assignments. And I believe it was time to go explore what life is outside or closer towards big cities like London in terms of the opportunities and the network available there.
Okay, thank you. In terms of on-off campus, I guess you're ambiguous, you don't really mind, but it's quite a full-on, those first 3 terms, it's quite
Yes,
a
I mean,
full-on.
and it's a full-time program. So basically, you can expect lectures almost every day. It's not going to be 8 hours straight necessarily, but
Yeah.
there might be like 2 sessions every day, sometimes 3 sessions every day. Plus we have events like tomorrow, for example, Asia mentioned it earlier. We have the careers team, actually, they're running a careers fair.
Fantastic.
Where companies are on site and you will be able to talk to them. So that's running tomorrow.
The DHLs and the Amazons of this world.
Of the world, yes.
Yeah.
They will be here on campus. And quite often there's actually alumni from previous years, right, that come
Right.
and that represent the companies. So it's great to, of course, speak to them and build that network further. Now, I want to mention something else also in terms of on-off campus, not in terms of the halls and where people choose to stay ultimately, but AJ mentioned that we run study tours. I don't know whether you heard that.
I was about to ask you.
Right, okay, wait, that's good, because AJ, did you go on a study tour?
I did.
You did. Which location did you go
It
to?
was Manchester for me.
Manchester. Are you a big football fan?
We're talking Manchester Football Club.
Yes, I mean,
Yeah.
I think you went to Manchester City, didn't you?
Wow.
Yeah, right.
Yes. So
That
How
was
is
part
that
of the
supply
study tour.
chain?
it
That's
is
just
so-
a jolly, right?
No, I mean, it's let me come back. Like our study tours, of course, what we do, we go away from campus. That's after term 2. So after we've finished all the lectures.
And this is
essentially.
part of the course. You're not paying extra for this. This is part of the course.
There's a small booking fee, but you're not, like, we cover the large chunk of the
Right.
expenses.
Right.
And we go here from Cranfield in a bus, we're about like 20 to 25 people on each study tour. So we went to Manchester, last year, Manchester, Liverpool, Bristol and Cardiff, right?
Wow.
And we do visits along the way, visits in that location. And those visits are, of course, educational visits where we look at, let's say, warehouse operations, or we look at, I think in Manchester you went to a consulting company talking about procurement,
Yeah.
right? But also social events, such as, for example, seeing the stadium. And of course, even a stadium and running a football club in these events, there's a lot of logistics
Yes.
behind it,
Yeah,
right?
everywhere.
Let's not forget about that. So it's a little bit of a social event. Of course, great to see these venues and these activities, but there's always an educational mindset behind it as well. But also just being able to spend a week away in a different location, away from
sounds fun.
Cranfield, with your colleagues, like with your cohort, right? With your friends and
I mean,
colleagues from the cohort.
Like, a special highlight I would like to mention is this is what Hendrik just mentioned is right the time when you are done with all your modules. There's just one big thing on your mind, that is the thesis. Now you could either go the traditional route, or you could apply for one of the company projects, or if you feel like you have that sort of a skill set, you could just approach one of the people from the facilities and bag yourself a project. But it all depends upon how eloquently you describe the problem statement and how convinced the company or the touring organization is to really hire you for that company project. So, as Hendrik mentioned, if you're curious enough, and if you see that problem statement, if you keep yourself open enough, there are loads of opportunities everywhere, be it your study tour even.
Yeah, we had a company on the Manchester study tour, I believe. Let's not name, companies necessarily, but they were very interested actually in sponsoring company projects,
Wow.
but also actually in getting people for permanently into the company, because they're expanding in the UK, and I know that there's quite a few Cranfield alumni actually working for that company.
So come to Cranfield, learn stuff, make some friends for life, and maybe get a job all at the same time. What's not to like?
Well, it can happen. If you make it, you have to make it your own journey. However, it's not everybody's journey is the same. So some people they really like to branch out. I mean, it's an MSc degree that is acknowledged around the world, right? So if AJ, for example, says, well, I want to go back live in my home country, or I want to apply for something in the UK, or you can apply anywhere else in the world. I mean, a Cranfield MSc in supply chain management carries some weight, yes.
Yeah. Deadlines. So presumably on the website there's information around funding, around accommodation. What deadlines are we talking about for, I guess we're looking at next year?
We are very early now in the application cycle, of course. I always, of course, think as an applicant, have a look around, see where you want to be. I think Cranfield is a fantastic option. You know, an MSc qualification, or an MSc journey, I should say, is for most people a once-in-a-life opportunity, right? So make the most of it. Have a look at our supply chain management programs. As I said, there's two. Don't forget that you can also switch between those two. And if you choose to apply here at Cranfield, do so early, of course, that we can plan with you. We can give you all the information as early as possible, and you can prepare yourself for the program in the best possible way. But currently we are, of course, early in the cycle, so the applications stay open until next year, middle of next year almost. But yeah,
apply as soon as possible. And is there any prepreration? Should people be reading your book, for instance? Should they be looking at current affairs? Obviously,
of course they should be reading my book. I think AJ has a copy of his own that he was provided with here. I hope he enjoyed it and read at least some of it. We actually discuss in class.
So what sort of preparation should people be doing?
Now, I do think people like to ask me this question, you know, should I be reading every operations and supply chain management book? I do not think so. Of course, there's no harm in doing that, but we do cover the theory here.
So you don't need to worry.
You don't need to worry too much. I mean, of course, it's great to have some prior knowledge, but you don't need to, you know, read all those books. What I would suggest, actually, especially because we are using this for discussion in class and our practical focus, sort of be in tune with what is happening around the world. What are companies and their supply chains experiencing currently? What challenges, but also what exciting new solutions are out there? How do they solve problems? What is happening in different parts of the world? How does all this interact? You can get great reports from consulting companies, great reports from logistics companies such as DHL. They have some great research that they're producing, and various others, right? You can look at UN reports, government reports. So that gives you a very more practically grounded knowledge or background in supply chain management. We cover the theory. We are the academics here. Don't worry about that. We cover plenty of it, but then we can bring all of this together in our discussions and in-class experiences.
Come with an open mind, I guess. AJ, I've got to ask you, if you were a student thinking of coming here, because I know you have, what advice would you give in 30 seconds?
I would say start introducing yourself to great literature sources. Other than that, be in tune with your well-being, because even though the pace is a lot, you need to remember that just breathe, and it's just 1 year. The amount of effort you put in now is what you're gonna reap a year later. That's it.
I love it. Just breathe. Fantastic. And presumably you can be contacted, you're available, your information
Of course,
is on the website.
All my information is on the website. I'm the main person there, but we have great teams depending on what you need to know, be it on accommodation, be it on student finance, be it with admissions. So we have various teams looking after these different parts of the process. But yeah, I'm more than happy to contact us.
We have run out of time. We can be talking about this for a lot longer. Hopefully you've gotten some of the passion that we have for this topic. We can't wait to see you next year or even the year following. So please get in touch, fill out that form, raid the website, get in touch with the amazing people such as you've seen here today. And thank you for joining. AJ, thank you so much indeed. You're 4 hours ahead, so thank you for your time. And let us know how you get on. We are very keen to hear from you.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
We're in touch anyway on LinkedIn, AJ. I'll see firsthand what's happening.
There's a network going here. Andre, thank you very much indeed for your time. It's been brilliant. The producer today was Autumn Hanscom. The studio managers were Robin Hackett and Marco Gomez. My name is Toby Thompson. Thank you for watching.